A new survey finds healthcare remains the top concern for voters in Ontario. The Nanos Research Survey conducted for CTV News and CP24 finds that 9 in 10 Ontarians say it is important for them that the new government invest in healthcare. And younger Ontarians gave a higher importance to affordable housing. Those aged 18 to 34 ranked at 8.2 out of 10. Pretty important. That is compared to 7.2 for those aged 35 to 54. Meantime, the latest issue tracking found healthcare came in at 24%, followed by the cost of living at 17.1%, housing at 9.4%. Jobs and the economy at 8.4%, environment at 8.3%, senior care at 4.7%. The Nanos phone survey was commissioned by CTV News and CP24 and surveyed 501 Ontarians between May 28th and May 31st. The results have a margin of error of plus or minus 4.4 percentage points, 19 times out of 20. So based on this latest poll, affordable housing, that's a top election issue for young people in this province. Millennials and Gen Zs now make up about 25% of the electorate in Ontario, a larger portion of the electorate than baby boomers. So what does that mean? Well, their vote matters, that's for sure, and their concerns matter. And that is the focus of tonight's discussion. Let's bring in Stephen Mensah, Executive Director of the Toronto Youth Cabinet, Jessica Look, President of the Ontario Undergraduate Student Alliance, and Jason Berryluck, General Manager of the College Student Alliance. Thank you all for joining us. Nice to see everybody here tonight. Stephen, let's talk about these poll results. No surprise, young people in the province, rightfully so, worried about affordable housing. Owning a home, that seems like a distant dream for so many. Let's start by talking about whether or not the parties have done enough to address this housing issue, this crisis.
Yeah, I think we need to really realize that we need to understand that where transit goes, housing development also follows, and there's a huge need to ensure that our young people and just students at large have access to affordable, high-quality housing, whether it be from their schools or just in the community at large. And I think the current parties and just government in general does need to do a better job and to ensure that we prioritize young people in the process whilst we are making all these housing developments and housing announcements as well.
Jessica, what do you think? And if you could pick 3 issues that young voters in this province really care about, what would they be?
For sure. Thank you for the question. I think top 3 issues for youth are definitely affordability and mental health, especially coming out of the pandemic, and also accessibility in the post-secondary sector, because we want to make sure that that experience is accessible to all students from all backgrounds.
Jason, what do you think the younger demographic in Ontario cares about?
Certainly cost of living is a major issue, and that has to do with their ability to grow as individuals, go to post-secondary, be able to have families and things of that nature is very much out of reach for a lot of young people at this point, without burying themselves under a mountain of debt. People deserve a place to live, a comfortable place to live, and be able to attain their skills in higher learning if that's something they choose to do. It contributes to our communities in quite a positive way.
Absolutely. And do you think any of the parties are really tackling that issue? What have you noticed on the campaign trail?
I've noticed that it seems like they're taking the housing issue quite seriously, but not as seriously as to make a permanent fix. And you could say the same thing for affordability in post-secondary. These are very much Band-Aid solutions, and while I applaud them for taking them very seriously, they really do need to make permanent solutions that are going to help young people, because they are the ones who are moving into these working spaces soon enough, and they need to be able to have homes in order to go to the jobs that they're supposed to be working at. So this is all very integral to the future of our province and the economy.
Yeah, that matters for sure. Jessica, what do you think? Have you heard about any permanent solutions, or would you say it's just been Band-Aid solutions thus far?
I would agree. I think a lot of the solutions we've been given so far are temporary, and I'd love to see our provincial government, regardless of party, take some permanent actions to make sure that our post-secondary experience and our life after that is as affordable as possible, because like Jason said, right now the housing situation is worrisome and the general affordability of the post-secondary experience is also worrisome.
Yeah, Stephen, I want to talk to you about the young vote because young people, they could swing this election if they got out to vote, whether they recognize that or not. The problem is sometimes they don't show up to the polls. So how do you change that?
Yeah, I think it's a great question. I think it's important to remember that civic engagement doesn't begin nor does it end with voting. And young people have shown time and time again that they are civically engaged, be it, attending protests or volunteerism or just, supporting campaigns or volunteering for campaigns. And I think we really need to get at the root of the issue as to why young people are not even going to vote in the first place. And voting, to be honest, is just so inaccessible. I think one might argue that we should have a holiday or make the election day is a holiday. And I think we should also speak to the fact that young people are not apathetic nor ideologically disengaged, but their circumstances does not allow them to actually go out to vote. Some of them can't even afford to hop on a transit to even go vote in the first place. Their jobs are precarious to the point that it doesn't allow them to take a couple of hours off to go vote. So we really need to address those barriers in the first place to really ensure and motivate our young people to go out and vote.
Yeah, you make such a good point about removing those barriers. Jessica, I want to give you a chance to weigh in here. Young people get a lot of flack. They're often criticized for not being engaged, for not voting, and that's not always true. So what do you think is a real reason why young people are not showing up to cast their ballot?
For sure. So I think the question of voter apathy is a bit of a chicken and egg situation. We don't know if voter apathy from youth came first or the lack of consideration from our representatives came first. I think it's not true that students don't care. We have lots of priorities that we want to be reflected in platform priorities. And I think it's really important that politicians are giving students the space to speak about their priorities and also make sure that, as a young person, I'm going to go vote. I'm going to encourage my friends to vote, to have our voice heard and make sure that our representatives know that our concerns are valid and they should be reflected in their priorities as well.
Yeah, Jason, I think politicians want to appeal to the younger vote, but maybe they just don't know how. You see politicians making their pitch on social media, they're TikToking, they're definitely vying for that vote. It doesn't always translate, though. So what do you think really resonates with young people?
Well, I would say that you can do as many TikToks as you want. If you're not addressing the issues that students face, you're going to have a tough time pulling them to the polls. I would argue that students and young people themselves are incredibly engaged and very into politics and just because of the issues that they face and how significant they are to them being able to grow. It's not their fault that they don't show up. It is the responsibility of politicians to give them a reason to go to the polls and vote for them. And if you aren't appealing to them through your policy, then you're not going to see them show up for you. Right.
So you're saying it's up to the politicians to engage these voters. Okay, I'm gonna send it to all of you. I'm gonna give you all 20 seconds to answer this question. We'll begin with Stephen. Talk about your work engaging young voters and your message to youth in Ontario tonight who are thinking about voting, maybe, but they're not so sure.
Yeah, I think my advice to young people is definitely go out and vote. It's a privilege to vote, so definitely go out to vote. And I think one thing we try to grapple with is there's a lesser of two evils, but I think we have to just try to change our perception and change our mindset and just realize that by now voting, we are omitting ourselves from an important process, especially like in the 2018 election. Many ridings were very close, so our vote does count. Our vote will matter, so we should definitely go out and vote.
Well said. Jessica, your thoughts, your message to young people in Ontario who are maybe undecided, who may not head out to cast their ballot?
Yeah, my message would be that it's really important that you exercise your right to vote. Voting is much easier than you might think, so head to your polling station and let the people there assist you in your vote. I would say get informed, look at the party platforms as much as you can, and look at the candidates in your riding and vote for someone who aligns with your beliefs, that reflects your priorities, and just feel empowered to vote. Take a friend if you'd like. And yeah, make sure you vote on Thursday because it'll be much quicker than you think and super, super important.
Okay, Jason, last word to you. And what should young people be looking at when they're reviewing party policies?
They should be looking at the kind of issues that resonate the most with them. And we've already kind of touched on those, the housing, affordability, being able to afford a good type of life. And they should be looking at those sections of the platform. I understand that policy platforms can be dense, But if you are a post-secondary college student, you can go on to either USA's website, College Student Alliance website. We have broken it down very easily to take a look at each of the issues, and these are ways you can look at it. By all means, engage in your civic duty and go get out there and vote.
Okay, well said. Thank you all for joining us, Stephen Mensah, Jessica Look, and Jason Berylak. Thanks so much. We'll chat soon, I'm sure.
Thank you.
Thank you.